I told him I needed to experience more before settling down. He changed the locks the next day. Yeah, that's literally what happened. Looking back, I don't even know if I can explain it in a way that doesn't make me sound like the bad guy. But whatever. I'm Clara, 27, and I swear, I didn't think asking for a little freedom before fully committing would blow up my entire life. Silas and I met 3 years ago. It was at a mutual friend's housewarming party, one of those crowded, noisy events where you usually just end up talking to the people you already know. But then I saw him by the bookshelf, away from the chaos, and he had this quiet intensity. We started talking about the book in his hand, and we just clicked. It was that rare, finish each other's sentences kind of connection that you only see in movies. 2 months later, we were practically living together. My toothbrush had its own spot in his bathroom, and half my wardrobe had migrated to his closet. By the 6-month mark, we made it official and signed a lease on a cozy one-bedroom apartment downtown. I loved our life. I loved our little routine. Weekday mornings were a blur of coordinated chaos, rushing out the door with travel mugs of coffee, stealing a quick kiss before heading in opposite directions. We'd text throughout the day stupid memes, complaints about work, a simple, thinking of you. Evenings were my favorite. We'd cook dinner together, our bodies moving in a familiar dance around the small kitchen, or we'd collapse on the couch with takeout, binging some new show. We were a unit, a team. We were that couple. The one everyone called relationship goals. My Instagram was a carefully curated highlight reel of our happiness, cute pictures of us hiking on weekends, singing off-key at concerts, or just being disgustingly adorable at home with our cat Leo. We were solid, comfortable, inevitable. And then Tatum, my best friend since college, started making these comments. Little things at first. Seeds of doubt planted so subtly I barely noticed. We'd be out for brunch, just the two of us, and she'd look at me over her mimosa and say something like, "Don't you ever miss the excitement? You know, the thrill of meeting someone new?" Or, "Girl, you're only 27, I can't imagine being tied down already." I'd laugh it off, of course. Tied down? It doesn't feel like that. It feels like home. But the thoughts, they stuck. Like gum in my hair. Annoying, persistent, and impossible to ignore. Between seeing Tatum and our other friends, Everly and Penelope, living their vibrant, chaotic single lives, and me picking up Silas's socks from the bathroom floor for the millionth time, it started to feel like maybe I was missing out on something. The more I scrolled through social media, the more the feeling grew, festering in the back of my mind. It was a poison I willingly drank, sip by sip. The little things about Silas that I used to find endearing suddenly became sources of irritation. The way he chewed his food a little too loudly. How he always chose the same Thai restaurant for date night. His predictable routines, once a source of comfort, now felt suffocating. 3 years, which had once felt like a beautiful foundation, suddenly felt like a cage. Was this really it? Was this going to be my whole story? A quiet life, a loving partner, and arguments about whose turn it was to clean the bathroom? All these girls were out there living their best lives, collecting stories, while I was arguing about throw pillows. The discontent grew, and Silas noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything. "You've been quiet lately," he said one night as we did the dishes together, his voice gentle. "Everything okay?" I plastered on a smile. "Just tired, long week at work." It was a lie. A small one, but it felt heavy. It was the first brick in a wall I didn't even realize I was building between us. The distance grew, inch by inch. I started going out more with Tatum and the girls, coming home later, being vaguer about my plans. I needed to breathe air that wasn't filled with us. The breaking point came when Silas found brochures for solo travel packages in my tote bag. I hadn't actually planned to go anywhere, not really. It was just fantasy shopping, a way to imagine a different life. But he looked at me like I'd already bought the ticket. "Are you unhappy with me, Clara?" he asked that night. His voice was so serious, so devoid of its usual warmth, that it scared me. And I realized then, I couldn't lie anymore. I had to tell him how I was feeling. Little did I know, that conversation would be the end of everything. "I think we need to talk," I said. The words hung in the air of our bedroom. I was sitting cross-legged on our bed, the one we'd spent a whole weekend assembling. Silas was folding laundry, a mundane task that suddenly felt incredibly profound. This wasn't supposed to be a breakup. In my head, it was just an adjustment, a pause button. He laughed softly, not looking up from a t-shirt. "That sounds ominous." Then he glanced up and saw my face, and his smile vanished. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding. "I love you. You know that, right? But I've been thinking about us, about me, about life, and I feel like maybe I need to experience more before we get too serious." His expression shifted from concern to pure confusion. "Too serious? Clara, we live together. We've been together for 3 years. We've talked about marriage. How are we not already serious?" I tried to explain, but the words felt clumsy, selfish, even to my own ears. "That's just it. We've been in this bubble, and it's been amazing. But sometimes I wonder if I missed out on just being on my own for a bit. My friends." "Your friends?" He cut me off, his voice sharp. "You mean Tatum and the ones who can't keep a relationship longer than their nail polish? Those friends?" That irritated me. "Don't be condescending. They're just living differently, and sometimes I wonder if I should have explored more options before settling down." The word hung in the air between us. "Options." Silas went very still. "Options?" he repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. "I'm an option now?" "No, that's not what I meant," I backpedaled, panicking. Maybe we could take a break, not break up, exactly, but, like, open things up, temporarily." He stared at me like I'd just suggested we rob a bank. "You want us to stay together? While you date other people?" When he said it like that, it sounded awful. But in my head, it had made perfect sense. Not like regular dating. Just experiences. Then I'd know for sure that you're the one, and we could fully commit without me having these doubts. His voice was laced with a bitterness I'd never heard before. "So let me get this straight. You want me to wait at home while you go experience other guys, and then welcome you back when you've decided I'm good enough after all?" The thought of him with someone else made my stomach turn, but I offered it anyway, trying to sound fair. "You could experience people too. It would be fair." "Do?" Silas laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound that didn't reach his eyes. "I don't want anyone else, Clara. I thought you felt the same." "I do love you," I insisted, my voice pleading. "This isn't about love, it's about making sure we're not missing out." "We?" He raised an eyebrow. "There's no we in this plan. This is about you wanting to sleep with other people without losing your safety net." That stung, because maybe it was a little true, but he was missing the point. "You're not a safety net. You're the person I want to build a life with. I just need to be sure." I pushed my luck. "Can we still live together while we figure this out?" "Nothing would really have to change, except you'd be with other people and then come home to me." He shook his head, a look of finality on his face. "No way. If you want to experience more, you can't do it while living with me. If you want to be single, then be single. Completely. I am not going to be your backup plan." I hadn't expected that. My whole fantasy had hinged on our home, our routine, remaining intact. "So, what? You want me to move out?" "That seems to be what you're asking for," he said, his voice flat. The conversation spiraled from there. He asked if there was already someone else. I told him no, which was true, but he didn't believe me. I accused him of being controlling. He said I was selfish and immature. We both said things we shouldn't have. "Fine." I finally snapped, grabbing my purse. I'll go stay with Tatum for a few days until you calm down and we can talk about this rationally. Don't expect things to be different when you come back, he warned, his voice low as I headed for the door. Whatever, you'll realize I'm being reasonable once you think about it, I shot back, utterly convinced he was overreacting. Little did I know, I wouldn't be coming back to our apartment at all. Tatum's couch wasn't nearly as comfortable as it looked. Her initial excitement about my newfound freedom faded after the second night. The supportive friend who had cheered on my desire for more was replaced by a roommate who was clearly inconvenienced. So, how long are you planning to crash here? She asked on day 3, stepping over my makeshift bed to get to her kitchen. Just until Silas gets over himself, I said, scrolling through my phone. He hadn't texted once. Not once. A knot of anxiety was starting to form in my stomach. But you're basically broken up, right? Tatum pressed. Shouldn't you be looking for your own place? We're not broken up, I insisted. We're just figuring things out. She gave me a look that said, sure you are. By day 4, the situation was tense. I hate to do this, she said that morning, but Jason's coming over tonight. Could you maybe not be here? Great. My supposed best friend, the architect of this whole mess, was kicking me out for a hookup. Where am I supposed to go? I tried Everly and Penelope. Everly was suddenly redecorating her guest room and Penelope had family visiting. Convenient excuses. Fine, I told Tatum, my pride stung. I'll go back to my place. Silas has had enough time to cool off. I took an Uber back to our apartment complex that afternoon, rehearsing my apology, my compromise, my plan to fix everything. When I put my key in the lock, it didn't turn. I tried again, jiggling it the way you sometimes had to with our finicky door. Nothing. Weird. I knocked instead. Loudly. No answer. After 20 minutes of knocking intermittently, our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Gable, stuck her head out. He's not home, dear. Left for work hours ago. My key isn't working, I explained, a cold dread creeping up my spine. She gave me a sympathetic look. Oh, I saw the locksmith here yesterday. I thought you knew. My mouth went dry. Locksmith? She nodded slowly. I'm sorry, honey. Maybe try calling him again. I sank down against our door. No, his door now. And tried to process what was happening. He'd changed the locks. He had actually, literally locked me out of my own home. I called Silas again and again. On the 5th try, he finally picked up. What do you want, Clara? His voice was cold, distant, unfamiliar. My key doesn't work, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Did you change the locks? Yes. One word, no explanation. My temper flared. Are you kidding me? That's illegal. My name is on the lease, too. I called the landlord, he said flatly. I'm taking over the lease. Your name will be removed. You have until Saturday to arrange a time to pick up your things. I'll be out from 2 to 4 p.m. You can come then. You can't just decide that, I was shouting now, not caring who heard. Where am I supposed to go? All my stuff is in there. No. You should have thought about that, he said. And for the first time his voice cracked with emotion, bitter, hurt anger. You should have thought about that before you decided you needed to experience more. You wanted freedom, Clara? Well, now you've got it. He hung up. He left me sitting in the hallway of what used to be our apartment building, homeless and utterly shocked. The next few days were a blur of desperate phone calls, couch surfing, and a growing, suffocating resentment. I bounced from Tatum's to Everly's for one night, then finally to Penelope's, where her roommate's no guests policy was suddenly being strictly enforced. The message was clear. No one wanted me for long. My supposed friends, the ones who had filled my head with doubts, now seemed to be judging me for actually taking their advice. Maybe if you talk to him in person, Tatum suggested during a brief, awkward lunch. Just show up when you know he'll be home. Albert. It was a terrible idea, born of desperation. But I was desperate. That evening, I positioned myself in the hallway outside his apartment. When I heard his footsteps coming up the stairs, my heart raced. I had rehearsed what I was going to say. I would be reasonable. I would compromise. I would beg if I had to. I just needed him to let me come home. But when he rounded the corner and saw me, his face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. It was a mask of indifference, and it terrified me. "What are you doing here, Clara?" No greeting, no warmth. "Silas, please." I stepped toward him. "Can we talk? Really talk? I miss you. I miss our home." "You mean you miss having somewhere comfortable to stay?" he corrected, unlocking his door without looking at me. "That's not fair," I said, following him to the doorway. "I made a mistake, okay? I wasn't thinking clearly." He paused in the doorway, blocking my view inside. "A mistake? You told me you wanted to sleep with other people while keeping our relationship as a backup plan. That wasn't a slip of the tongue, Clara. That was what you really wanted." "I never said I wanted to sleep with other people," I whispered, though deep down, I knew that's exactly what experiencing more had meant. "Silas, please, just let me come in. For a minute. We lived together for almost 3 years. You can't just—" "I can't what?" His voice rose, finally showing some fire. "Protect myself from someone who clearly doesn't value me the way I thought she did? You wanted space to explore your options. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for." The elevator dinged behind me. I heard footsteps. Silas looked past me, and his entire expression changed. It softened in a way that made my stomach drop to the floor. I turned. A woman was walking toward us, tall, with a cascade of dark, curly hair. She was gorgeous. She smiled at Silas like she knew him, like she was happy to see him. "Am I early?" she asked, her eyes glancing between us. "No, you're right on time," Silas said, his voice completely different from the cold, harsh tone he'd been using with me. It was warm, gentle. He looked back at me, his face a neutral mask again. "Daphne, this is Clara, my ex." He then looked directly at me. "Clara, this is Daphne. She's in my Thursday night class." "That ex? Thursday night class? Since when was he taking a class? And who the hell was Daphne?" "Oh," Daphne said politely, though her eyes held a hint of understanding about the situation she'd just walked into. "Nice to meet you." "We were just finishing up," Silas told her, then looked at me pointedly. "Right, Clara?" I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. Silas had a date. Already, with this perfectly beautiful woman who apparently shared interests with him that I knew nothing about. "Right," I managed to choke out, the word feeling like ash in my mouth. "I was just leaving." As I walked toward the elevator on shaky legs, I heard Silas invite Daphne into my apartment. Our apartment. I heard her laugh at something he said. I heard the door close behind them. I made it to the stairwell before the tears came. Hot, fast, and humiliating. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't how it was supposed to go at all. 2 weeks later, I was officially a resident of a depressing studio apartment across town. It had that sad, transient smell of stale paint and other people's failed dreams. After my first paycheck was decimated by a security deposit and first month's rent, the reality of my new life hit me hard. I decided to try one more time with Silas. Now that I had my own place, maybe he'd see I was serious. Maybe he'd see that I wasn't just trying to get my comfortable life back. When I showed up at our old apartment to collect my remaining things, he opened the door looking better than I remembered. Had his shoulders always been that broad? Was he working out more? He looked rested, healthy. The apartment looked different, too. Some of my decorations were gone, replaced with new things I didn't recognize. The throw pillows I'd spent hours choosing were nowhere to be seen. "I boxed up most of your stuff," he said, his voice polite but distant. He gestured to several cardboard boxes, neatly stacked by the door. "Take your time. I'll be in the bedroom if you need anything else." "Silas, wait," I said before he could walk away. "Can we talk, please?" He hesitated, then turned around, his expression guarded. "About what?" "About us. About what happened." I stepped closer, my heart in my throat. "I know I hurt you, And I am so, so sorry. I wasn't thinking clearly. My friends got in my head with all this FOMO nonsense and I panicked. Nye. So now it's your friend's fault, his eyebrow raised. No, no, it's my fault for listening to them, I clarified quickly. Silas, I made a huge mistake. I never actually wanted to be with anyone else, I was just scared of commitment, I guess. And now you're not? He looked skeptical. Now I've seen what life is like without you, and it's awful, I admitted, my voice breaking. I miss you. Every single day. I miss our life together. For a fleeting moment, his expression softened. Hope flared in my chest. Maybe he misses me too. Maybe we can fix this. Clara, he started, then paused. The sound of the front door opening. I turned to see Daphne walk in, carrying a bag of groceries. She stopped short when she saw me. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you'd be here, she said, looking between us awkwardly. I can come back. No, it's fine, Silas said, and his voice was so warm as he looked at her. Clara was just picking up her things. My throat closed up. You gave her a key? Already? Silas's expression hardened again, the brief moment of softness gone. Like I said, you're picking up your things. And leaving. Daphne tried to smooth over the tension. I'll just put these in the kitchen and get out of your way. As she walked past us, I noticed something that made my blood boil. She was wearing one of Silas's shirts. The blue button-down I always used to steal on lazy Sunday mornings. The casual intimacy of it hit me like a slap in the face. How long has this been going on? I demanded in a harsh whisper once she was out of earshot. Were you seeing her before we broke up? We didn't break up, remember? He said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You wanted to experience more. And no, I met Daphne in my creative writing class, the one I started taking 2 months ago that you never once asked about. The accusation stung because it was true. I'd been so wrapped up in my own discontent, my own manufactured drama, that I hadn't paid any attention to his life, his new interests. I made a mistake, I repeated, feeling desperate. People make mistakes, Silas. You can't throw away 3 years over one stupid conversation. It wasn't just the conversation, he said quietly, his voice heavy with a truth that crushed me. It was the realization that while I was sitting here planning our future, you were sitting next to me wondering what else was out there. That changes everything. It taints every memory. So that's it? You've replaced me already? And there's no chance for us? I couldn't hide the bitterness. I haven't replaced you, Clara. I've moved on. There's a difference. With the first girl who showed interest, I snapped, and immediately regretted it when I saw his face darken. You don't get to do that, he said, his voice dangerously low. You don't get to act jealous when you're the one who wanted the freedom to see other people. I made a mistake, I shouted, the tears finally coming. Why can't you understand that? Oh, I understand perfectly, he said, his voice cold as ice. Your mistake wasn't asking for space. Your mistake was assuming I'd just wait around until you decided I was good enough. Oh, the truth of his words hit me with the force of a physical blow. That was it. That was exactly what I had expected. That he'd be there, waiting, whenever I was ready to come back. I still love you, I whispered. It was my last, desperate card to play. Silas looked at me for a long moment, and I thought I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Regret, maybe? Sadness for what we'd lost? But then Daphne appeared at the edge of the kitchen, watching us with concern. And his expression changed as he looked at her. He turned back to me. I loved you too, he said finally. His use of the past tense was a knife in my heart. But not anymore. Please, take your things. And go. 6 months later, my life looked nothing like I'd imagined. My tiny studio apartment never felt like home. My job performance had suffered so much during the breakup drama that I'd been demoted, which meant even less money and more stress. The grand experiences I'd been so eager to have turned out to be a string of disappointing dates with guys from apps who disappeared after getting what they wanted. I had collected no stories, only a hollow sense of loneliness. Meanwhile, through the painful window of social media and mutual friends, I got to watch Silas thrive. He and Daphne were now officially a couple. They were traveling together, attending writing workshops, looking disgustingly happy in every single photo. He'd even gotten a promotion at work, something he'd been working toward when we were together, but I'd barely paid attention to. My friend group had fractured. Tatum still spoke to me, but Everly and Penelope had drifted away. I later found out they'd stayed friends with Silas. They even hung out with him and Daphne occasionally. The irony was suffocating. The final blow came when Tatum hesitantly mentioned a rumor she'd heard. We were having coffee, and she was fidgeting with her cup. "Don't shoot the messenger," she prefaced, "but I thought you should hear it from me instead of seeing it online." I braced myself. Silas proposed to Daphne last weekend, in Italy. The coffee cup slipped from my hand, splashing hot liquid across the table. It barely registered. "What? They've only been together for 6 months. Tatum gave me an apologetic shrug. "Sometimes when you know, you know." Apparently, he's never been more sure of anything in his life. Die. The words were a knife, twisting in an old wound. Never been more sure. That was what he used to say about me. About us. That's crazy," I stammered. "They barely know each other." "Actually, they have a lot in common," Tatum said carefully. "They're both really into writing now. Did you know his short story is getting published in a literary journal? And Italy. That was the trip you guys always talked about." Later that night, alone in my sad little apartment, scrolling through old photos of Silas and me on my phone, the full weight of what I had done finally, truly hit me. I'd had everything. A loving partner who adored me, a beautiful home we'd built together, friends who respected us as a couple, plans for a future, a whole life. And I had thrown it all away. Because of FOMO. Because my friends put stupid ideas in my head. Because I had been too immature, too selfish, and too blind to recognize the profound, irreplaceable value of what I had right in front of me. I typed and deleted a dozen messages to Silas that night. "Congratulations. I hate you. I miss you. I'm happy for you." None of them felt right. None of them would change anything. In the end, I just turned off my phone and cried myself to sleep, haunted by the memory of the words that had destroyed my world. I think I need to experience more before settling down. Silas had experienced more. All right. More happiness, more success, more love. Just not with me. And all I had experienced was the agonizing, life-altering lesson that sometimes what you're looking for is exactly what you already had.